Boys and girls in all ages, we're about to start in a few minutes. Just hang tight because we got a kick ass show tonight. So hang out and chill out, and we'll be with you in a few minutes. Make sure the mic's on this time. What's up, guy, everybody? We're at it again. Another night, second week in a row with our live stream. This is Operation Hangout. I am your host, the Ghost of Sparta. Of course, grooming and reviews, and also known as Pete. So, what's up, everybody? It's been a hot goddamn minute. I have a show for you. Oh my god. My guest is showing up soon. They're on delay. But one will be coming in. But before we get it, let me get out of the whole marketing, the mumbo jumbo, the stuff I am obligated to do by contract. I am streaming from YouTube and Facebook. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. And if you have any brothers that need to know a little more about grooming, motivation, or anything of my stuff I do that I'm really good at, please hit the like button. Please hit the share button and please hit the subscribe. And also, starting tomorrow night on the Black Man Unfiltered, we are be doing a new show. Me and Paul will be doing called The Great Line. Can't talk about it too much right now, but it's very edgy, very cool, and very awesome. So, trying to delay a little bit. Let's see who's in the chat. Say hi, say hello, say yo so, say something. I'd be love to hear you guys because it is that time of day again. So, how's everybody's weekend going? Good. Mine's going pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. So, relapse really fast. We are talking about the evolution of entertainment. But now you're gonna ask me, Pete, that's a big subject. What about entertainment? There's a lot of things we can talk about entertainment. You're right, it is a lot of things. So we are going to talk specifically about the evolution from the beta to the VCR to all the way digital and how it will evolve. We're going to talk about Bleh. We're going to talk about Blockbuster. We're going to talk about even GameFly, not GameFly, I'm sorry, Netflix, when it used to mail your disc in the mail. Who remembers those days? I remember getting my first next Netflix prescription. Oh my god! Back then, it was night and day, and literally, you were paying $10 or $20 to get a movie in the mail. I'm like, it's possible. That is an extra thing. But we're gonna get into it. I'm just waiting for the guys to show up. They're coming in any minute. Stone is not my best shoot. I'll be honest with you. But let's talk about a little bit grooming before we get into it. Obviously, you guys see I donated hair, like you guys know. I'm regrowing the beard. I'm a little bushy right now, but bushy things come in good packages. They say, right? Or the big packet things can be. Now, whatever. I like my version. I can't always be correct. But you know what? Let me play some sound effects for a minute. That's right. I am working on new sound effects. I'm working on stuff. Me and CQ been working on the back of the scenes, and some great stuff is happening. I have some things planned up coming really soon. Again, I'm gonna give you a relapse on the week who's going on next week. Monday is motivation. Tune in if you need motivated. If you need grooming advice for your beard, please hit the like button, hit the share button, come in and join us. And it'll be a great, great, great time. Actually, I forgot to send a link to somebody. Oopsies. Let's send it to him right now. Maybe he can be able to join. So let's see if anybody came in yet. Oh, still waiting on the guys. So I was saying Monday. Now Wednesday show is evolving, it's changing a little bit. So we're changing it to. I'm not sure what we're gonna change it. Originally, from you guys don't know, I used to be a ex-smoker. Used to smoke for years and years and years. Switched to vaping and I eventually kicked the habit. So I think that's a big applause for me. Now, before you get before we get too ahead of myself, give myself all the credit in the world. I can't do it myself. I have a great support line. I have Hashim, I got Paul, I got CQ, I got King, I got whoever else I got going on. If I miss you, I apologize. But if you want to quit smoking, you want to quit vaping, you want to quit anything bad habits you want to do, hit us up. We got your back. We will make sure you hit your goal. We always will. So, now I'm not. The Wednesday is going to change. I know we were talking about my journey of quit vaping. Excuse me, but I think we're going to change the name. I'm not sure what yet. I'm working on that. Because Ishim and me are be doing it. Ishim will be in later. He's running a little late. He had a little family emergency, but I'm glad he's going to be on. It's a breath of fresh air, having a second person and more people coming in. On a low note, and I hope you guys in the comments talk to Hashim a little bit. I'm trying to convince him to pick up a day on the channel. I want him to have his own day, play with it, have fun with it, like I did, and become, like it became what it became now. Now on Thursdays, we're still doing grooming and reviews. I have some great big reviews coming, and I'm looking at a big sucker right now. So we're working on it. This is going to be evolving over time. I know we started this as a grooming channel. Now it's kind of evolving to a channel that grooms you as a better man. And I'm okay with that. I still want to do my grooming stuff. I'm going to still add other things. And whoever wants to join, please join us. If you actually want to join us, I'll be great. So we're finally got our first guest in the line. Let me get him rocking and rolling here. Let me get him going. Give me 1 second, guys, to get him on board. Give me a minute, guys. I'm just working on my end here. I'm still trying to get better at this, so just bear with me, guys. All right, guys. My first guest is coming on board. He is the president of the 7Bs and a wise man as all. And of course, I am talking the great, the wise, Mr. Paul.
Grooming?
Hey, what's going on, brother? How are you today, man?
I am doing well, sir. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm good. Good. It was a long day at work, but I have
Mhm.
to say, made it through another day, another week. So I'm
There you
very,
go.
very happy about that. So I gotta
There
ask
you
you a
go.
question.
Sure.
I want to ask everybody's question. Is everybody ready for tonight?
Well, the
So
way you made it sound,
yeah,
I guess maybe I'm not, but
yeah,
I guess I'll have to be
yeah.
since you're
So
you're already you're already stacking, you're already giving your cards away with your Sith energy there that you just put in there.
yeah. So like, I'm trying to get everybody hyped up. Like, I'm very, very hyped up for today's show. Our conversation is gonna be awesome today. Do you
Okay.
remember the beta machine?
But Betamax?
I believe so. If the original name better is like the pre VCR.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
never owned one,
Hmm.
but yeah, you had Laserdisc, you had Betamax, you had yeah. So it was definitely um, early '80s, late '70s,
Exactly.
early
Yes.
'80s technology. Yeah.
So our topic of the show tonight is the evolution of entertainment, going from the beta all the way to digital today. How
Right.
it transformed. We're gonna talk about Blockbuster. We're gonna talk about Netflix used to mail the discs in. I remember that.
Right.
I actually we just hired a guy at my job. He used to be the district manager of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania,
Mhm.
Blockbuster. I'm like, whoa, that's
Right.
kind of cool actually, but and kind of weird. And he actually worked for your company too at one point as a district manager too.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, this I'm like yeah, you know my boy Paul. Like I have nobody know Paul. Like different district, I guess. So what do
Right.
you remember so far about the Betamax? Do you any good or bad?
Well, again, I never owned one.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't privileged enough to own a lot of that technology. By the time I was in a financial, we didn't grow up with a lot of money. So by the time I got to a point where we're able to afford certain things, VHS, you're talking about 84, 85 in that time frame. So by then, I think the Betamax was sort of dying off. But what I do recall was compared to um, I think at the time, I think Betamax actually, from a quality point of view, had a better picture. So if you was to rank the technologies at that time, you had Laserdisc and you had Betamax and then you had VHS. And Betamax was considered like the high end, but it didn't take off, I think, because of the cost. And so because of the VHS, that it was generally less expensive to own one. And the important thing was the fact that you had more titles that were available on VHS over Betamax. And I don't know, what went into that, some corporate decisions or some contracts or whatever. You just had an availability. So when you talk about the rental chains like the Blockbusters and whatnot, they were, pretty much everyone made a decision to go to the VHS format, even though Betamax was from what I understand, a better quality, better resolution picture of that day,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think it was one of those things where, yeah, it was nice for those who had it, but only people who had money or the means to buy one of those. And even then, you were limited because not all the movie releases, like anytime something came out on on for rental or purchase, VHS again was an early on. Betamax was just not. Betamax was actually, I think, better used also if you had like one of those big digital camcorders, like the ones that was like big, would sit
I
on your,
remember those. My mom used
it
to
would
have
sit on
one.
your shoulder. Yeah, yeah. So I think Betamax, because it was smaller, the cameras were smaller than the VHS ones or the early VHS ones. So you always had that again. So it was better, and I think it took better pictures.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to business wise, in terms of making something affordable to the mainstream, I just didn't think it garnered enough at that time to be able to stay relevant. And I think people just couldn't, because you really have to be like a real video file, I think, in order to determine or to tell the difference between a beta and a VHS. I mean, you really had to have, especially if you didn't have a really nice TV, like you had to have, like back then, Sony was considered like the top of the line in terms of television sets. So you had to have like a Sony Trinitron, really whatever the highest resolution TV at the time, to really be able to notice the difference. But if most people, if you had, a conventional set, or some people still have black and whites, believe it or not.
Yeah, I
So
believe that. So I actually
unless
looked at the
unless you
price.
had yeah so unless you had that real high quality TV, you weren't really going to be able to tell the difference between the two. If it was a little grainy or
Yep.
whatever, then so a lot of people said, well, why spend the extra at that time, couple $100 difference between owning a Betamax machine and a VCR, VHS machine back then. And then the cost for the cassettes themselves, I think there was a price point there also, where the Betamax blank cassettes were more expensive. And again, if you bought like a movie or something like that that was on Betamax, again, you would pay more. So I think it just came down to finance at the end of the day, not so much that it was the best product.
So the Betamax machine original price back in the 80s was starting from 2000 and up, and that's a lot
Yeah,
of money back then. Hey
yeah,
Stacey,
that
and that's
yeah,
a lot of money. Now, if we
right.
check on the VHS, how much it was, it wasn't as much. Believe it or not, it was like a lot cheaper. Let me see here if I
Yeah,
can
the
bring it.
first VHS VCR I recall buying, I might have spent like 350 for it.
Exactly,
And
it was
again, this is
like
like
more than half.
1984.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I personally, and this is a personal theory of mine. I believe with Laserdisc, Laserdisc is pretty much a DVD. Back then,
Yeah,
the technology was so new, people didn't know about it. They didn't understood it.
right,
But one thing
right.
people don't know about VHS and Miramax, they're both are tapes, a different quality tape.
Yeah.
Over time, they will build mold, and to the point that you are not able to use it. If you have an old VHS and take it out, I'd be very surprised it's not moldy inside of it.
Mm.
And you
Well, it's
you
interesting.
go ahead.
I'm notorious for not throwing out anything. So I have a ton up in my basement,
Mm.
which probably doesn't make it any better either.
No, make it worse
I have a
probably.
ton of they're in they're in like plastic containers. But I got a ton of because I used to record like back then. I just recorded everything.
Hmm.
Any movie that was on, I would record it. I even again, don't judge me for this. Again, this was a long time ago. But I used to duplicate back then when you're not supposed to. Remember that every time you watched a VHS tape that said penalties for duplicating. So
Yeah,
I got to a point. I got to a point where I had two VCRs, and I would just rent a video and I would record it off of the until they came out with I think they came out with the technology where they stop you from recording like your finished product would be blurred or something like that. But back then, I would rent stuff, I would record it, and keep it. So I got a lot of uh, copied videos and stuff
mhm.
like that from back in the day. I recorded a lot of stuff from TV shows and whatnot. And recently, I actually had to get an actual functioning VCR um, because I realized that I didn't have. I could have swore that I copied my wedding video to DVD.
Okay, that makes sense.
Um,
Why? Okay, now it makes sense.
So, but I realized either if I did, I couldn't find it. I think I only found like one of this. Like it was like the original master had um, cassettes, and then the finished product DVD had they had to put the music in and they had the final editing. And I realized I couldn't find either of them, and
Okay.
so I had to go back and get the original masters and literally power up the VCRs. I got this Elgato or Elgato hardware and software to transfer from the VHS, the output from the VHS into my computer, and I made digital versions of everything. But it was a little perilous because the VCR, like you would hear sometimes, like the VCR would just like any cassette, it could chew up
The tape.
your copy.
Yeah.
So, there were a couple times where it got a little dangerous there where you can hear it on the inside, like it's kind of crunching it up a little bit. So like stop it, try to eject it and pull it out. And sure enough, some of the tape was hanging off and I had to kind of go take it out gently, then tighten it up, using a pencil to tighten up the bottom and try, just get it. So it was a tedious process trying to get it off of the video or the VHS onto certainly the digital. But yeah, I still have quite a bit. But I'm think this year I think I'm just going to get rid of a lot of stuff. But I would get
Believe it
stuff.
or not, VHS hasn't a comeback right now. There's not a lot of money into it, but it's a small comeback right now for hardcore collector movie series like myself. Or like, dude, if I tell you how many movies I have in my collection and I don't even watch anymore because if it's on digital
Mhm.
now, it's over
Yeah,
300 movies.
yeah,
Yeah, people
I can
joke
see
around
that.
like, "Hey, you're a walking blockbuster." I'm like, pretty much.
Yeah, I can
But
see that.
the VHS, I remember that the things was humongous. And at one point, it's funny you said that. I used to do the same exact thing. I don't know if you remember, um, they came out with a dual one. you could record in one and one in fact,
Yeah, yeah,
and they try to stop it. And how I found a loophole around it is a tab behind it. If that tab is missing, you cannot over record it. So I found out if you put tape over it, it records perfectly fine.
yeah. I did. I did that a lot too. Yeah, absolutely,
Blockbuster, you love
absolutely.
me because I used to buy the rent the movie, record it, and I had like three movies in one VHS. I'm like shit. And I'm but
Yeah,
I remember.
I
Good.
confess. I was a pirate. You know, what I mean,
Oh, okay,
become a
hell yeah, I was
pirate.
too.
Yeah. Now, well, let me ask you this again. I think we're beyond the statute of
Oh, of
limitations at this
course.
point. So, did you now cable? And I don't want to move off your
No,
topic.
that's fine. We can talk about cable. I don't care with it. It's entertainment. It's still
Cable.
part of the thing.
Yeah, yeah. Now, did you ever get one of those black boxes?
No, we actually did something else sneakier. So we used to rent our downstairs part of our house, and so we used to
Right.
charge extra rent.
Hmm.
So we used to give them cable. Till one day we hear my mom go clunk 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 clunk. I'm like, what the fuck is knocking on my mom's door? My mom goes, it's like opens up. It was a cable company. We're inspecting our cable box, so nobody's stealing cable. Like, give me 1 second. Would you need to grab the dog? I look at Mom. We don't have a dog. Like, shut the fuck up. She goes, we go in your room. She's cutting all the cables, shove them into the wall. I'm like, she's running around like crazy. I'm like, the fuck is going on here?
No,
Guy comes.
I'm not talking about that black
No,
box.
I
I'm
know,
talking
I
about
know.
the other black box.
No,
Okay.
I know people who had it. I never had it personally. I
Right.
heard it worked great actually.
Well, until they found a way to zap it. So I
Really?
owned a couple. Yeah. So we used to get like, pay per view, especially box. I'm a huge boxing fan.
I
So
remember that. Yeah.
back then in the 80s, in the 90s, you had Tyson fighting Hagler and just all those great fights back in the 80s and 90s. So, we would get the black box and I would have guys over and we would watch the fights together. Because before then, like for all the scrambled channels, right, they would have that big blurry line in the middle and all that.
Mm-hmm.
You could hear it well. That's the thing. If you just wanted to listen to it, there was nothing wrong with
The sound.
the audio, the sound, right? But you couldn't see the picture because of that scraggly line. So the black box allowed you to unscramble it, and we watched those fights. So, but I think they got to a point where they were able to recognize, up someone's getting scrambled feet, and they would send a signal, and they would just jolt it. It's like, and, it'd be fried at that point. So, but yeah, I owned a couple of those. Ordered it off of I think it was an ad in one of the like electronic magazines or something like that. The only thing you need to do was you needed to know the model and serial number
Television.
um, of your cable box,
Okay. Okay.
and then they would get the one. I guess they would configure it to your cable box or whatever, and they would send it. But yeah, it was just a black box. You set the cable box on top of it, and again, you only used it when you wanted to watch, like I said, the pay per view stuff, or if you had, again, don't judge me, some of the adult channels. I'll just put it that way, or if it was like HBO After Dark or some of the stuff that you weren't supposed to watch back then, you would actually use it for that purpose. So yeah, so I pirated everything, and if I could record it, then I would record it also. I was definitely a bit of a demon back then. I must
Yeah,
confess.
I'm not gonna lie. Some of the stuff we used to watch. I was a big wrestling kid guy. I remember paying 50
Yeah.
to $60 per WrestleMania,
Right. Right.
freaking King of the Ring. And that was expensive. And
Right.
if I had something like that, like plug it. But let me ask this question: how much were they running when they first came out?
Well, oh, those boxes. Oh,
Yeah,
probably like I would say maybe about $100, hundred and fifty
that's not
bucks
bad.
back then. Yeah, I don't think I paid more than 200, but I know I spent at least like $100 and for it. Yeah, like I said, the only thing you just need that number, and also you had to have the frequencies. So and it's weird because I had to call the cable company, right? And it said, okay, well, like, what's the frequency you guys run on? Like, how many hertz or whatever?
Oh
Now the
God.
person was nice, right? So she was like, I don't know, 120 hertz or something.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
thank
yeah.
you, and I just hung up. But someone could have very easily said, well, why do you need to know that? because that's almost like a dead giveaway that you are that you're looking to buy one of those boxes or whatever. So that was a big thing, especially like I said in the '90s. Like I said, Tyson, Holyfield, all the fights. Like I said, the wrestling, as you talked about, certainly there was a lot of stuff that that you had access to, but
Mm-hmm.
at any given time you're watching the thing and then it just goes boom, because again they used to send it's like a ping. They would ping your box and it would send like a short and it would just short your box out and then you were done. But I didn't want to press the issue too much, so I think I might have owned two boxes in my lifetime. And I said after that, I was like, you know what, now I don't need the third strike here where someone's knocking at my door saying this is the police and whatnot. So I stopped that. But that was like I said, my late teens and early 20s. Yeah,
Now let me ask you a
I was
question behind that a little bit because I want
yeah,
to pick your brain a little bit because you experienced it more than
sure.
I did. I was very young for that. If
Mhm.
they caught you, they zapped it obviously. Now, would you get a letter like a strike in the mail? Like,
No, no, no. But like I said, if it was repeated enough, then again, that was always a risk. So like I said,
mm-hmm.
after the second time, and I don't know, I forget how much time I took. It might have been like months or even a year between the times I owned it. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like I was constant where um, it was just a thing that they were always monitoring. You know what I mean? So I just didn't want to push my luck anymore. So yeah, but again, it's just like anything else. It's just like I said with the VHS tapes.
Yeah.
They always used to play that FBI warning about piracy and everything else, and so um, you barely watched it, but you knew it was there. So again, I'm like, I'm not tempting fate anymore, with stuff. And then at that time, I was working, fairly gainfully employed, and I was in the IT field and whatnot. So it was like, I didn't necessarily have to, but again, when you're in college or whatever, or you're a young person, you're like, yeah,
You push your
to
luck a little
those
bit. Like,
dudes.
let's try this a
A
little bit.
little, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll be honest. Like, I want to get off topic too much. Like, this is part
Yeah,
of what I
yeah,
want to talk about. I was going to touch base later on, but we'll go swing back to this in a minute.
yeah.
Later on. But one thing I will say, if you get caught now, I get caught a couple times. I'm not gonna lie. Not now, but when I was younger, when I used to download all my movies from different websites like Kaza and all the other ones,
Mhm,
download.com or whatever they're called. And I was
mhm.
like, well, cool, I'm good. But I realized, newer the movie, easy to get caught. If the movie's been out for
Yeah.
a while, I'm like, download, they don't care. They made the money already. Fuck it, whatever. Now, if it's like,
Mm,
say, what's the new movie just came out? Let's say Godzilla you watched recently, right?
mhm. Yeah.
And you downloaded when it first came out, good copy. Somehow they get their hands on it,
Mhm.
and you get caught with it. Oh, you're getting striked. You're getting striked. And like I remember one time I got striked. What the hell
Yeah.
is going on here? And I'm trying to
Yeah.
see
I
what's
mean,
going on.
unless you're just one of those dudes who just knows how to, because I've known guys who stage like channels, like they have almost it's almost almost like a subscription service,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not. It's just they just give you access to it, and they got libraries and stuff. So if you're
This is something
good,
similar with a website, but I try to cover my ass. I had an IP blocker. I had a firewall. I had so many security breaches. Those fuckers
yeah,
got in. I mean, goddamn! I was going to myself.
yeah,
Strike
yeah, they got
one.
smarter.
This is they tell you,
Yeah.
listen, heads up. Yeah, that's right. It says LimeWire is one of them. It says heads up. We know where you is. Just delete it out of your system. I'm like, fuck, I didn't even download on your. I literally went to my cousins in New Jersey, in West Orange, and downloaded on his internet. That's how sneaky I was.
Mm,
But because it was on my
yeah,
computer, they picked it up. I'm like, the fuck? I didn't download it
yeah,
here. Like, it doesn't matter. It's still a red flag. I'm like,
yeah,
wow. And then the second time, like, you do it again, you're going to suspend it for, 60 days. Like, okay, I'm not
right,
pushing my luck anymore.
right,
But what I did,
right.
when I download, I used to delete it right away before they catch me. And that, for a while, like for a good 2 years, I was good. Then, boom, I got striked. I'm like, God damn, man. And
Yeah,
that's where I was going to
yeah.
go with this again is after VHS, DVDs came out. If you remember.
Yes.
Yes. So did you ever try to copy a DVD?
No. No. By that time, um, like I said, I was copying a lot of VHS to DVDs. 'Cause I got a dual. Like you said, the dual for the cassettes, but I
Yep.
actually got a dual where it had a VHS and it had
Yeah, they
a
were coming
DVD
out when it
recorder.
first I think like a year after DVD came out, I believe. Those
Right.
came out because a lot of people have VHS, but they didn't want to give up the
Right.
VHS. They want to add it more, and it was kind of like win-win.
Yeah, so I was doing a lot, but as far as copying the I mean, I might have did a couple rips because basically once you load it, there's an option where there's like you load the in especially if you have Windows, there's like a Windows Finder, and you go in. There's two folders basically. I think one is for the video and one's for the audio, and so you can sort of copy that stuff down to your hard drive. I mean, I've done that a couple times.
Hmm.
Mostly, if I did anything, I might have ripped it. I definitely ripped CDs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
CD music, absolutely. MP3, especially the early days with like Napster and all that. Yeah, I definitely got a lot of stuff. Pretty, big music collection.
Oh
I
God.
got certainly through digital rips and stuff like that. But as far as ripping DVDs, not as much from doing that. Um, but then by the time YouTube came out, like early YouTube, a lot of people were just uploading that stuff anyway. So I was able to kind of get it from there. But you're talking about when the DVDs really come out, like late 90s, I guess.
I was in more 2000s. Hang on, let me actually that's one thing I did not look up when DVDs came out. I apologize.
Definitely by like 98, 99,
Yeah.
the late 90s, they were definitely out. But I don't know, prior to 1995, I don't know if you had a ton of DVDs out as of yet. I need to look that up in terms of when they became,
Okay,
mainstream.
DVDs came out March 24th, 1997. Wow, actually, and
Yeah, yeah, I know it was like the late
yeah,
90s. Yeah,
yeah. Technically, they were originally for the public November 1st, 1996, but then it gets really streamed to 97. So,
right. But the
I
crazy thing, yeah,
go ahead.
the crazy thing about that is the technology though
Hmm.
was probably out like 20 years earlier.
Yeah, with Laserdisc.
Like if you look at Japan, like Japan did everything first, right?
Yeah.
Like everything we know, like going back to the gaming systems, like I said, the Ataris, the Nintendos, and all that. That stuff was already in Japan for like years. So I mean, Japan for I don't know about now, but I just know like back then they were always ahead of us in terms of their technology, and we always got like the last of it. Everything started over there first. So I remember even like HDTV I think came out like in the late 70s or early 80s. Because I remember watching, there was like a 2020 documentary segment that News Show 2020 used to be on. And they were talking about DVD, but I mean, about HDTV. But it was still like 10 years before it became mainstream or widespread. And even then, we started out, I think, with like 720p or 1080i or whatever. And then now everything's like 4K now. Or now it's like even 8K is coming out. But yeah, but that was the thing that was somewhat frustrating about me just being a tech guy. Like all these other places in the world, especially in Japan, all the latest innovations like started there, and then it eventually filtered to us. And by the time it got to us, they were already onto the new thing. But I think that's a function of the country, in that to bring in any new thing, right? Like
Hmm.
any new technology or medicine or whatever, it takes a while because for something new to come in, that means something old is going out. And then
I agree.
you have people who are going to stop that. Like, if I'm into the VHS market and, someone's trying to bring DVDs over, I'm going to at least delay it. I may not be able to stop it, but I'm going to delay it. I'm going to tie it up in, you need, patents and, need legal stuff and, just delay the onset of it until I can either adapt or make my money and get out or something. But this country, I think, has always been behind technologically, even though we have the science to do things, but a lot of times things don't get implemented because there's too many people making money on other things to get stuff on. But I've always believed that we're probably 20 years behind where we could be if there was the willpower to, um, what do you call it, green light or fund these things. Okay, boom, we're gonna go in this direction. There's a lot of stuff. I'm always like looking at historical stuff, and they always talk about this technology. Oh yeah, this came out, and this would have been this. I say, oh, that would have been so cool if we did that. But a lot of times, it's political motivations. Oftentimes, kill innovation more so than just the fact that people thought of it. I mean, stuff would
Yeah.
have been there. Um, you know,
So me growing up in Greece, like everybody that knows about me, I grew up in Greece, so I saw the difference. I remember coming back here, like, oh, it was a Nintendo 64, and I was still playing Super Nintendo back in Greece. So
Yeah.
when I came back to fully moved, I was just literally just getting a PlayStation One, and PlayStation One was like the end of its cycle. PS2 was coming out.
Exactly.
I'm
Yeah.
like, how, what what did I miss? I'm like scratching my
Yeah.
head as a kid. I did not understand that. Like if we're 20 years, Greece at the time was like 30 years. I think we're closer now than we were back then. I think as United
Mhm.
States versus China or Japan that are the tech hubs, I believe, both
Yeah.
countries. I think we're more like I won't say 10 or I say 20 years behind. I think we're like more like 5 to 10 more now. I'll say. I feel more comfortable with that
Yeah.
number. And like in
Yeah.
other
It's trying to.
countries are more like 15 behind.
Right. Right. But like I said, everybody gets stuff. Like I don't care if it's like medicine. Like I
Hmm.
remember my wife. She was interested in. This might have been maybe 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago. She was actually interested in doing like laser eye surgery. And my
Yeah, I
wife, she's
remember
like
that.
that. Like, yeah, she's like, Coke bottle glasses or whatever. I mean, she wears contacts most of the time, but yeah, but her vision is pretty bad. And a lot of the people here wouldn't wanted. In fact, they didn't really want to do the procedure on her because they're saying, with that laser eye, they're cutting off, pieces of your
Eyeball.
cornea or whatever, right? And so a lot of guys here didn't want to risk it, but they were telling us what she needs to be done if she was in Europe. Oh, they could do it right now. But like I said, but when stuff comes here, you got to go through the FDA and the medical screenings and whatnot. Like they said, like any new medicine or patent that for medicine, it takes 10 years to get a new drug into the marketplace. You know what I'm saying? So it's the process that slows everything down. And then again, you have like lobbyists and whatnot. I'm not trying to be political here. But I'm saying just the lobbying and just people trying to hold on to a certain technology. If this is making us money, this thing will take us out of business. And so we're going to lobby. Okay, so senators and boards and people say, hey, delay that approving that drug or that technology or something like that until we can either capitalize on it ourselves or we need to get caught up. But like I say, Europe, Asia, like as far as the tech, it seems like a lot of times they get on stuff a lot faster than we do. And like you said, it may be closing down now, or the gap may be closing, but for years it was like, man. But I always thought that why aren't we doing like the big things, Um, the what do you call it? It's a NASA term, the moonshots, to like transform stuff or whatever.
Yeah, I know
You know,
exactly what you're talking about. So where I was going to go with this next is I don't want to get too politics it's against
sure.
our streaming rules, but I will say
Are you
one
good?
thing to that is if we let our unfortunately it's way our society is built. We pay for our insurance, and big pharma let us do what they want to do us, not the other way around. And I think that is a problem. Before we continue, I want to give
Hmm.
some shout outs to. We have in the chat, we got Mariana says, "Hey guys," and we got Little P. It says, "Hello guys, what's up?" And we got you, Paul. Say hi too. And we
Hey,
got
hey.
Stacy on Facebook. I just want to give you guys a quick shout out before we forget we move on too far. But
Mm.
for everybody who's new here, the hangout is a place somewhere to have fun, have good conversations, and joke around, break each other's balls. That's why one of our rules are no politics. But I don't mind touching a little base on it, like we did. We didn't get too deep in and start screaming and yelling and screaming. Like this is
Yeah.
yeah, but let's get back on topic really fast with
Right.
technology. And I agree. And like I work in the, healthcare right now. I'm a healthcare chef, like everybody knows.
Hmm.
And I see just even the way we cut the food, the way stuff like okay, a SB6 is also known as a soft bite or a mechanical food. That technology, the way we process the food, has changed. Now let's talk
Hmm.
about TVs for a second. Let's say a 85 inch. I'm gonna bring that because I just got one myself. Imagine how
Mm.
heavy the fucker was back then, back in 1985.
But yeah, because you had one of them early TVs that liquid that like the glass. What was it called?
I don't remember to be honest with you.
The quartz glass, but it was like heavy. I mean, them
Yeah.
early HD sets were so heavy because it was like a thick um piece of glass. It was like
Hmm.
this thick,
Oh, it
and
was thick. I remember breaking one. That's why I know.
oh man, yeah, yeah. But now
I
for the longest time, we
remember just a what, like a 25 inch. It took two guys to move it. Imagine you have the
mhm.
45 inch. Forget that. Imagine having an 85 or a 90 inch try to move the fuck around. And I believe the
Yeah, yeah.
95 inch.
I just mounted a I just mounted a 65. Replaced the 65, 55 in my bedroom with a 65. It wasn't terribly heavy,
Hmm.
but you definitely noticed the difference. It's like it was cumbersome because it's just bigger. So you're just
Yeah.
trying to
I'm
put it
like,
on the wall mounts and everything.
you try and
And
get it at one
yeah.
person's hard to do that. I quick backstory really fast for everybody. I think I told you,
Mhm.
Paul, about this. My mom's old TV took a shit. I had that LG for about 20 years.
Mhm.
And it was a flat screen when it first came out, and that sucker was heavy. I'm like, wow, this is actually heavy. I'm like, I can do a
Mhm.
good chest wrench with this. So Hashim came over and helped me move the 75 from my room downstairs because I was not getting her a new TV. She's on crack, but she thinks that because my mom
Mhm.
is very heavy on her TVs. She beats the crap out of them.
Mhm.
So we mounted. I'm like, I was worried the mounts were going like, and he goes, dude, this 45 inch feels like a 75 inch now.
Mm, yeah.
I'm not even joking. We're
Yeah.
laughing our asses off. I'm like, how
Yeah.
the hell? Like, and that's what they told us. Like when I bought the new TV, like, yo, chill with your audio because the audio on the new TV suck. And they're right. You can barely hear anything.
Well, yeah, because they want you to buy the soundboards.
Exactly. And
So
that's
it's almost
funny.
like they're taking the sound out. So just buy a soundboard or a Bose or whatever,
Yeah.
and
I would not go with both, but it's funny. He said that to me. He goes, you said that because the guys who I was not going to mount this. I tried to ask a couple of buddies of mine, but the days never lined up because they were out of stock when I ordered it. It just literally
right.
happened right after Christmas, 2 days after Christmas. I'm like, shit, this is a fucking luck of mine. And then the power
Mhm.
source went. And back in the old TVs, it was easier to fix that stuff.
Yeah.
It was. I remember Jersey, for a good example, even New York, when I lived in New York, you could find a TV repair in every corner almost.
Yeah.
So you or call them up like, yo, I have,
Especially when you were doing radio, especially in the radio tube era. I go
yeah.
back to then. Some of the early TVs, they still had the radio tubes in them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And the funny thing about that is like if you couldn't bring the TV, they would come to you. They'll do house calls like, "Oh, doctors," like,
Right.
and they will fix
Right.
it
Right.
for a fee, like whatever the fee was. They were like, charge like $100 to show up, whatever to say that,
Exactly.
and they'll
Yeah.
fix it, and your TV is fine. Now,
Right.
oh, that's not happening. Like my old
Yeah.
TV, the one that sold the LG, is the power source went on it. So
Mm.
think about trying to fix that now. Just think about it for a
Yeah.
minute. You think you're able to
Yeah.
fix it? I don't
No,
think
so
so.
it's not worth. Well, see, nothing's really worth fixing anymore.
Hmm.
You know, 'cause
Yeah.
like I said, the TV I replaced, mine just went. Like it just literally a day or so before Christmas, it just died. It just would not turn on. And so okay, it's the plugs, the outlet, or whatever. But to this point, to try to even take it to someone, I got a TV, a 65-inch TV from PC Richard for
Oh
like two
God, you're bringing
fifty.
memories
This
back
was like
now.
I think this was like the day after Christmas or something like that, right? So, and I like it's not like we had to wait in line because I don't think no one's really doing that anymore. Like like Black Friday or whatever, people stand in line like overnight or something. I just walked in. They had this brand from Japan that I never heard of,
Hmm.
but it was like a 65-inch for like $220 or
Oh
something
wow.
like that.
Okay.
I said, I don't want a 5-year warranty. I don't want nothing. Yeah, I'm just load it into my car. I'll pay you right now. Boom. It was out. It was probably the fastest electronic sale that I ever had. Um, but then I looked up the company. Again, the company, they're known in Japan. I mean, they were in existence for like I think they started in the 30s, the company. And then over time they got bought out by, different there's another entity that owns them now, but I guess because of the brand name, they still recognize the set. But I don't think that brand never really made it like mainstream, certainly not over here, certainly with
Yeah, yeah.
Sony and Magnavox and all those other
Like Viso is
brands, Hitachi
being,
and all that.
yeah, Viso is becoming a very, very big punk company now. I was talking to somebody the other day about it. Like, I feel like they're a good company. I'm not gonna say it, but they're 85 inch you can get for under 300 because they're very known company, but they're a very cheap company too.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not a fan of
But
that
like I
company.
said, but the quality these days, like going back to the conversation, the
Hmm.
brand mattered a lot. Like back in the 80s, like if I was to like rank them by tier, it was Sony, it was Magnavox and Zenith. Like those were like the big in anything, whether they're TVs, their VCRs, their home system. Now in the audio, you had your Kenmore, I mean Kenwoods and brands like that, Techniques and those brands. But in the TV market, I mean, those are like the big ones. Everyone else that like I said, Zenith or Magnet, some of these other RCA, those were like lower tier. So again, you were spending a lot of money. Like the difference between a Sony set and let's say a Zenith set, was like double. Like if you want like a 25-inch Sony Trinitron set, it was like $600. You can get, like I said, a Zenith or an RCA for half of that. I
It's
mean, it
funny you say
really
that.
mattered. But I think,
It's very
yeah,
funny you say that because here's why. So when I grew up on Zenith and RCA. Those are two companies my parents always bought
hmm
because what we could afford.
hmm
Okay, cool,
hmm
whatever. Like it's a Megabox. I never heard of it, I'll be honest with you. Maybe I did have it, seen it around. I just don't remember it, how young I was.
hmm
So before Christmas, Black Friday sales, they had this really nice 85-inch. Before my mom's TV took a shit, like, ooh, my eye caught
hmm
on it. And like, it's $800. Like, shit, that's a fucking steal. So I talking to a
hmm
guy like, what are you gonna be doing? I'm like, I game, I watch movies. Yeah, yeah. I go like, I gotta be honest with you. Like, I know I'm gonna lose a sale, but this is a low grade 85. It's not like that with the
right,
4K smart. It has the smart stuff, but it's literally you having this big screen with one bulb lighting everything up. Like that's not gonna work for me. I
right,
went to. I really knew it was a problem when he
right.
said that. And I'm like, I'm good. I'll pass. So that goes
hmm
back to how cheap something. Even it says a good deal. It doesn't mean it's a good TV. You gotta watch that too now these days.
Right. Well, the only thing I would say to that is it might not be, but the thing is, I mean, we don't build things necessarily to last. Like one of the reasons why those TVs were expensive back then, because again, they lasted. Like
Hmm.
back then, you would own a TV for 10, 15 years. I mean, that was, in fact, I didn't get my, I got my first HD TV back in actually 2015, but I didn't replace like the main one. We had like a big 52-inch projection. I mean, it's this wide. I mean, the projection TVs were, like I said, and the deal was when that died is when I was going to get another set. You know what I mean? But it lasted forever. I think it might have been 60 inches, but it was a wedding gift
Oh wow,
from
that's why.
my wife's mother.
So
But
it had a little
everything like
meaning to
we
you there.
had we had a microwave that lasted almost 20 years. A tabletop from all these things for our wedding. So the microwave, the TV, a lot of those older appliances they were made to last. The only reason I'm saying that is to get back to your point as far as the TV. I don't know if it necessarily matters if it's cheap or not because one, you're not paying that much. Again, remember, like if you go to like to a Best Buy, you go into the Magnolia area, right? They still want $6,000-7,000 for like a high end TV. I'm like, you know, unless you got money, unless you just want to show off that you spent $7,000 for a TV,
I
I'll
think
get a
you're an
three hundred
idiot.
dollar TV. It may last you for 3 4 years, but then so what? You're gonna get rid of it, and more than likely, with the change in technology being so great, the TV that you get is still gonna be better than the one you already had. Like the one I had, I bought that set back in 2000. Yeah, probably 2016, 2017. I bought that one, and it died, so I got like 8 years,
Hmm.
7 plus years out of it. And now I have, the one I got. Again, if I get 2 or 3 years, it's cheap. The one I just got is bigger, but it's cheaper than when I bought the first one.
So I want to cut you off this second because I have a comment I want to read out loud so you understand. And I
Sure.
agree with this comment completely. If goes for everything from TVs to car, even my couch behind me, and I'll explain that in 1 second. So State
Mhm.
says, I feel like I'm sorry, I feel like all the TVs are cheaply made. I agree on that statement. I was looking at them, looking at them, and their biggest one was $700, and it was a 75. Nothing is made the same anymore, and I agree on that.
Right.
See, here's why I agree on that. I use my couch behind him. I bought that a few years ago, right? I'm already having
Mhm.
problems. I have it for 5 years. It's
Yeah.
electronic. It does everything all the way back. I can sleep on it, whatever. On the other side, where I usually hang out, I'm having issues with it. Good luck trying
Mm.
to find a guy who can work on these goddamn couches. So my
Yeah.
point is trying to get with
You
that
don't use
is like you're going to just toss and get a new one. Same thing with the
correct.
TVs. So like my TV, I'm not showing off. Like it just, I feel at the bad time to my TV to take a shit because they're all sold out after Black Fridays and Christmas
Mhm.
and stuff. So
Right.
I end up dropping around 3K on it because I needed somebody to deliver it, somebody to install it. I needed a bracket. I needed this. I needed that. I'm like, Jesus Christ! The TV was cheap. It was
Mhm.
only 1,700. But I think I have to add it. Insurance. I was going to put insurance on it no matter what because I don't need to be out 3K. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But my point is
Yeah.
trying to get
And,
to.
and, and
Go ahead, Paul.
no, but to that point, you know, you can buy a $300 or $400 set and maybe get the same length out of it. In fact, it might be better over time because again, you're going to spend $3,000. You're not going to be in a hurry to replace that set for any time soon. If
Yeah.
anything, if you can get 10 years out of it, you're going to be, fortunate. But again, whatever technology set that you bought now, let's just say 8K becomes the standard in 2 years from now. Then, by the time, your TV's going to get like to the end of its line, it's going to be old by the time the 8K comes out, and then you got the 3,000 out. Whereas I could spend a short amount of money now. Let's say again, if it lasts 3-4 years, 8K is out. 8K is probably going to be very expensive on the outset, but then everything drops. The technology, especially these days, nothing stays high price forever. So let's say by the 7th or 8th year, that 8K set, it might be like under $1,000.
Yeah.
Eight sitting maybe not. Let's say if it's $1,000 by then. So you bought a $300 TV, and then you got a 4K TV, and then you got a $1,000 8K TV. So at the same time, when your $3,000 TV, by the time you reach that 10-year mark, if it lasts that long, you're still saving money in the long run by buying the cheaper item, or at least that's the mindset that people will use and saying to buy the cheaper stuff. And like I said, unless you're like one of those, I mean, you got people who are like they can look at the pixels on the TV and tell the quality of it or whatever. They put like a magnifying glass.
I don't think you can personally.
I'm not that. Because again, I grew up with rabbit ears. You know what I'm saying?
I did too, actually. That's why I'm laughing.
You took the coat hanger and whatever the rabbit ears would break, you would take a coat hanger and you would put that in to get the extension or whatever. So for me, the nice thing about just the start of this conversation, every advance, you appreciate, what you have more so than what you had, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, like in my situation, I was worse shit of luck because I don't even want to spend over 1,700 delivering everything, but all those fees. That's how I got fucked.
Right.
So again, I was in a bad situation, bad time kind of thing. And I even texted you joking around. You want to help me? Remember? I said, "Hey, you want me to help me put up an 85-inch TV?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "I put it in your car, right?" He goes, "No." Even I looked at the salesman joking around, like, "Yo, you think that 85 would fit in my Tucson?" He goes, "No." Come on, let's try it. Let's measure it. I go, "I'm not going in a cold."
They put it. You were able to get it into your car?
No, I mean, he had to deliver it, and the guys trying to bring it up.
Yeah,
They looked at me like, "We don't know if we can get this upstairs." Like, "Oh no! I already paid for this. This is going upstairs. I don't care how you get it up. You better get it up." But my point is, next to it, if you remember back then with the old TV, even here to go example, my one of my really good friends, my best friend, CQ, he bought a Sony TV. It was, I believe, it was 75-inch.
Mm-hmm.
This Greek son of a bitch had to carry that shit up the stairs with him.
Yeah.
And he's been shot 13 times in Iraq, so his bag's all fucked up too. So I had to watch him. Mm-hmm. So all the ways on my side, I looked at him like, CQ, I'm going to fucking kill you. And I'm like, don't blame my wife. He goes, you picked that heavy shit. Who picked the TV? I did. And I'm like, yeah, shut up. Mm-hmm. So we get it up, whatever. And so long story short, he just got rid of it last year, a year before, I can't remember. It was like about almost 18, 19 years he had the same TV. Like, that's a good time for any TV, to be honest. But the next point of that story is those old TVs, you don't have all the gizmos in it, the programming. Like, okay, you can just get an app to
Right.
put Netflix on or put on
Right.
Disney Plus. You have to. I remember having my LG. I had so many wires coming from the back. From all, I had
Right.
a Chromecast. I had a Fire Stick. I had this. I had that. I had this and that. I'm like,
Yeah.
I had 20 cables. Now I only have literally two cables coming out, maybe three tops.
Yeah, because all the apps are built into it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like even the Fire Sticks back then, they were like the cheapest piece of shit ever. Now they're
Mhm.
still a piece of shit cheap, but they're advanced piece of shit cheap things.
Right.
So, and that's going to the biggest topic I want to talk about is the war. Do you remember the war?
Which one in particular?
HD versus Blu-ray.
Um, Vaguely.
Okay.
I mean, I do recall it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
um, I thought you were going back to an earlier time because I know we already talked about VHS versus Beta,
Yeah.
and then
Okay.
I thought you were
Let's
going to
let's
talk.
cut. Let's take a step back. Let's go back when VHS for and DVDs were out of war first because that's people think DVDs never going to take over VHS. You guys are
Yeah.
insane saying that. Same thing they said about 8 tracks versus cassette. And cassette for
Correct.
CDs. That shit is never going to replace yada yada yada. I go
Mm-hmm.
bullshit. Technology's moving. Same thing with MP3 players. Now everything's
Mm-hmm.
digital on your phone. I'm using my
Right.
Apple for example, of course. But my
Right.
point is trying to get to technology moving. People who say it's never going to happen are usually the people who do not want to accept technology.
Right.
What do you think about that?
Nah. Um. I think it depends. I think it's changing with the generations
Mm-hmm.
because again, if you're talking about baby boomers and uh, earlier Gen Xers, I think they were still with the mindset of you buy quality. You want something to last. Like early commercials back then, like growing up in the 70s and 80s, they always talked about the quality, something like built to last. And that was something that was valued by definitely by the baby boomers and certainly, like I said, early Gen Xers. But with millennials, Gen Zers, and now you got the ones that I forget what you call the ones that are coming up after them. Um, it's all about instant use. So for them, it's like if something new, they're just gonna go for it just because it's new. It's like just like with the iPhone. I mean, like the phones in general, right? Like in our generation, if you bought anything, you wanted it to last, but it's like you'll replace your iPhone every year even though there's nothing wrong with your iPhone. I mean, and even you look at the specs on like, was there a difference between the iPhone 13 and 14 or the 14 and 15 that was so significant that you're willing to spend $1,000 on a phone that, that really just doesn't work. In fact, now it's almost to the point they're giving them to you now. I mean, it's like
Yeah, like
if you
mine.
really want to trade,
Yeah, because I
yeah,
had my last iPhone. It was a 12 Pro Max,
hmm
and nothing wrong with it. Um, so I can't say that. I had it for 3 years, started acting up a little bit. So the 15 came
hmm
out, and I traded in. I had to pay 200, but the rest of it, they're going to credit me monthly, and I'll pay
right,
my regular fee, but it's actually paying. I'll break even. I'm not paying nothing.
hmm
I'm like,
hmm
it makes no sense, but it did make sense number wise afterwards. So pretty much, I only had to pay 200 for a $1,200 phone. That's nothing if you think about it.
right. So the companies themselves, they're not even valuing so much like the old phone. It's in their best interest to have you just keep up with the latest phones. Like if I walk into a T-Mobile store now with an iPhone 6 or whatever, they're gonna be looking at me like, man, you're a dinosaur or something like that. But the companies are literally giving you free phones or allowing you to get out of your if you got payments left on your other phone, giving you credits and everything. Because again, they just want you in the latest. So I think that so I don't think there's necessarily the wars. Like that might have been one of the last tech wars that was out. Like Blu-ray versus HD. That might be one of the last. But nowadays, if you just mention something like 8K, then people are just gonna move unless it's mad expensive. People are just gonna move to it because it's cool. It's the latest thing. I want to stay up to date. So it's like getting a software update every month or whatever. You just want to stay in the current of the technology at all times. So I think that's so. it's just a different generations and how they embrace the tech versus how older generations wanted to things to stay the same.
Hmm.
You wanted a refrigerator should last you 25, 30 years, easy. I mean, appliances, dishwasher, whatever it was.
I
You
give you a good
know,
example. The
yeah,
oh my god, what's that vacuum cleaner called? Everybody goes for the big. You know what I'm talking about? The shit, the special. It's like a $600 vacuum cleaner. I can't remember the name of the
but the
company.
Kirby's or
No,
Dyson.
Dyson. Think of Dyson.
Yeah,
That sucker lasts fucking forever. When it says it's a good vacuum, it is. But my
yeah.
problem is the power behind it. Is it not as powerful as they say it is? Believe it or
It's
not.
not a it's not a 12 amp.
No.
It's now interesting. I bought a 12 amp from a unique. I don't know if you guys got unique down where you're at, but it's like a thrift store. It's like a big chain
No.
thrift store, all used stuff. I bought a Symphony. It was like a private. It wasn't like the Kirby's, but it was kind of similar. Like you want to talk about last, like Kirby vacuum cleaners used to be passed on to like the next generation. That's how That's
That's
what
how
they were
good they
known for.
were.
Back then, you were spending $1,200 for a Kirby vacuum cleaner in the '60s or in the '70s, and people were using those things for like 20, 30 years. It was just like really high end. I remember my family. Again, we didn't have a lot of money, but I remember when my family certainly was intact. I remember that we had owned one, and it had a very unique look to it and whatnot. And people went door to door selling them and whatnot. I mean, really high end. But this Symphony 6, it was actually sold through a lot of the commercial vacuum cleaner stores or whatever. I bought it for $30 at a unique thrift store. It was an old one. I think it was like 2000. It was like like early 2000s is when it came out. The 6 series. Now they got the 9 and whatever series out, or whatever. $30 for it. Most powerful vacuum I ever owned. It has a HEPA filter in it. One time I had to take it for maintenance to a vacuum shop or whatever, but it still works. But it's just my wife was like, I want to, and we've owned a Dyson also, and the Dyson it still works as far as the suction, but the belt that turns the brushes
Hmm.
is broken, so I would have to get it maintained if I wanted to take it there. But even still, it's better than my Dyson. But my wife was like, for a long time, she was like, I just want a new vacuum cleaner. I was like, why? Which one do you want to have? I just want a Dyson. You know what I'm saying? It's
Because
like
that was a
it
trend.
doesn't
I was the
necessarily,
same way. I'm
it
like,
doesn't make sense. It
yeah.
doesn't make sense as to like, we got a good thing. It's cheap. And hey, I think one time I had to get a cord replaced on. It was like $30 to get the cord replaced or whatever. But again, Dyson's like, especially the high end, it's like $500-600. I mean, why, spend the money? But she was I just wanted Dyson. So I think the way people think now is just if it looks cool, if it's new,
I
I just
was
want that.
I
Yeah.
want to say it was cool. Because again, I didn't know enough about vacuum cleaner. And then we moved to where we live now, in this apartment. And I go, we need a
Mhm.
vacuum cleaner, yada yada. I go, and I went and got a Dyson one, like thinking it was good, right? So,
Yeah.
side note, a lot of you guys know I'm a Beagle dad, and like Paul's a Beagle
Same
dad
here.
too. So my little Beagle, 1 year old, thought to chew up the cable.
Oh.
I almost killed him. But he's good. He's nothing happened to him. Though he's fine. He looked at me like, I looked down like, you're a dead dog. You know that, right? Get in your crate. But we just duct tape. That's what it was. It was nothing too serious damage.
Right.
Anyway, I just want to see how much it cost me to replace it. So I went to a local, two different vacuum cleaner. It was over $1,000. Like it cost more than a goddamn fucking vacuum cleaner. I went to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, I hear such good things. But one thing Dyson does have for it, and is really good, I know the hair dryer works really well. I'll give him that. I want to knock that.
That's like $300-400 too, right? The hair
uh,
dryer? How much is the hair dryer?
I'll tell you right now. I think so. Yeah, you use it a couple times, right, Paul?
Yeah. Right.
Let's find out now.
But everything. I mean, their fan. They got this.
Oh, the fan is ridiculous, overpriced. I'll be honest.
It's like
It's
$700
way
for the fan?
overpriced.
I'm like, man.
I think that's way, way, way overpriced. And it's a funny thing. A lot of people are actually copying their style now.
Oh yeah.
Oh, where is it? It's funny when you need what you're looking for something, you can't find it right away. I always love when that happens. But and I have used a Dyson when I had my long hair, and it kicks
Mm.
ass. I mean, it really does kick ass. It's worth it. I remember it was around 3 to 4, I think it is. I'm gonna find it, sucker. Don't worry. Oh, that's why.
Yeah, so yeah, it's four. Yeah, I got it now. It's $430.
All right, there you go. And that's on the cheap end too. Probably it's on sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then it goes up. They got one that's like five. It's like the supersonic version. It's like $500.
Yeah, and all the attachments. But one thing I did like about Dyson, and the other companies are copying it again. Dyson, the guy who owns Dyson's, the engineer guy, he actually is a genius.
Yeah.
I'll give him credit for that. So what he
Mm.
actually has done is anything he comes out with design wise, like he has another vacuum that is like literally a small handheld, like remember those old vacuum cleaners back in the 60s and 70s and 80s that it was like you put it on the wall, it was a handheld, like
Yeah.
I don't know what they're called, but he
Yeah, the
had
stick. Yeah, the
yeah,
stick.
yeah, pretty much. Now he has a small version of Dyson, and that's really good for stairs or small corners. Like, oh, that's actually, but it's also another $300-400. Like, get the fuck out of here, dude. Like, I have
Mm.
used the hand dryer at the couple works at the bathroom. God, that thing dries your hand really fucking well. And like, you know when you dry your hands
Right.
like a little damp still, and like you have to kind of do the pants thing or the shirt
Right.
thing. Except you're wearing a white shirt, you can't fucking do that at all. Or Black Panther,
Right.
you're fucking you're doing one of these things then after the bathroom.
Yeah.
And with these,
Yeah.
you literally put it in and out. Works great because that airflow is
Yeah.
pushing down and you're pushing the water away versus just
Right.
one direction, and that makes no sense.
Right.
But it's just like Dyson. Like what else gonna come out next? Dyson. Dyson is into everything. Fans, like Ninja. That's a great another example. I've used their stuff. Their stuff is actually worth the money, I think, but it is also overpriced.
Right.
So the next topic I
Yeah.
want go ahead.
No. It's just but I would say one thing about Dyson, they're almost like Tesla. You know what I mean? At least
Good example.
what they give you, it like I said, they also understand uh, style. You know what I mean? They understand like uniqueness. It's like when you own one of those things, it feels like like you're holding something unique. So I think from a design point of view, as far as the technology, I
Mhm.
think they're able to blend both together. Now, again, how long are they going to be able to hold on to that?
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, like Tesla now, I mean, they're losing some of their market now. In fact, last year they dropped the price of their cars by like 25, 30%.
I want to touch base on that
Because,
one second. Before you do that, I want to give
Yeah.
a great salute to North Beard. He's one of Beard's brothers. Salute to you, brother, and welcome in. Yes, I agree with that. So here's why I want to cut you off really fast. Tesla
Mhm.
actually has been proven studies. They say their car is the best. They're like e-car, a best electronic car, best this, best that.
Mhm.
It's like a piece of fucking shit. I seen them
Mm.
up close and personal, and every owner I talk to about it, I'm like, I post my, hey, how'd you like it? He goes, I hate this fucking car. I can't wait to get rid of it. I'm going with a Mercedes
Wow.
instead next time. I'm like, but you're buying the name. I'm like, no, I know I'm buying the name. I totally understand. I agree with you with that. But at least I'm buying a name that is going to be mechanical worth. I don't have a problem with it.
Mm.
Like my best friend CQ again. Like I said, he has the money to buy. He's like, I have the money to buy it. I'm not worried about it. He goes, but I am not paying a Mercedes car is going to cost me. I think he said $1,400 back then. It was like 2-3 years ago. I'm like, it's
Right.
more. It's as much as my mortgage. It's like it's not worth it, bro. It's like you don't see it.
$1,400 a month.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and here's the funny part, and so is factor the Mercedes can go further out with one charge versus a Tesla.
Mm.
They just got famous.
Well,
That's
you
what it
would
is.
hope so.
Yeah,
You would hope so.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Tesla got famous fast with that because of the marketing. He had a good marketing, keep pushing it, and people just picked it up. I don't think they're
Yeah.
not that great car. They don't like at first. I
And
thought
even the style. even styles,
that's where I was
'cause
going with this. As now,
Yeah. Because they haven't changed the style of any of their cars.
a few
And
years.
I was
Yeah,
like, I was kind of it's like they don't come out with a new model. I mean, they come out. It's sexy. The S, the E, the X, and the Y.
I just realized that says
You know,
spells that.
that's it. That's they don't come out with a new model year. And that's another. They say that's another one of their problems in that the design of the car is almost like becoming old now. because everybody's coming out with, again,
The
like
e
with the
cars.
other major automakers, they make, changes. They change the design, the style, the lights,
Hmm.
the form factor and whatnot. So, so again, you own a Tesla now. There's no difference in the Tesla you own now than the one that came out 6, 7 years ago. So, it's not now everyone's excited about the truck that's coming out. I think they're starting to roll the truck out now. I think you'll get a market for that because, obviously no one's ever had it. But with the other cars, like, there's been no the only upgrades are literally software upgrades. That's it. I mean, it's no,
Yeah.
the the um the computer stuff. But as far as the design, there's no difference between a 2017 Tesla and a 2024. There's no difference.
The only time they changed something was the wheel because they were forced to because they had the I call it the Night Rider wheel because it was cut off
Mm,
uh
mm,
like a half donut almost, and people were
yeah.
trying to do the whole overhand or turn the wheel,
Mm,
and they were losing grip and they were crashing. Even their
right.
what's called autopilot is not that good. I heard it's actually very dangerous going autopilot with that car. Versus some other
Yeah.
companies that have autopilot, like Mercedes Benz, BMW, and so on, are
Right.
better than that. Even
Right.
Ford has a better autopilot than Mercedes Benz. And I'm like, seriously, you're supposed to be the number one.
Yeah, and like I said, I think that, and again, just knowing Musk, he may be looking in another direction. Like, I don't know if he believes his future is going to be in cars. He might be in aerospace, or because I know people. I was talking to a friend of mine. He was thinking about trying to get their solar. He likes their solar panels
Okay.
because if you look at their solar panels, they don't look like the traditional, like
Yeah,
the
I seen them.
blocks. They
Yeah.
look, they literally look like the roof of your house. You know what I mean? So, I think they might be moving in other directions too, where they can, where they can capitalize on it. But
Mhm.
again, the car run, just like the older technologies that we talked about earlier, they may be at the end of their run. But we'll see how the truck sells.
So the truck, it can go either way because it's not a lot of companies, trucks that have that ability. But here's a funny factor. When Elon Musk was first coming out with the car, he went to Apple and talked to the president. I can't remember what his name is. I keep forgetting his name. Who runs Apple right now? And told him I want,
Oh, yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, I wanted to. He wanted to join teams with Apple to do this car situation. They laughed him out of the building. They literally
Mm,
laughed him, and it was a great idea. I'm not, we might give him shit about his car is, but he actually has a great idea. E-car, electronic car is a new hot thing, and I think eventually in a couple of years, I think California is one of the states that require you to own an electronic car. You cannot have a gas car anymore. It's you.
yeah.
So I think that's where the route we're gonna go eventually. But he went to Apple and they laughed him out of the building. And he says,
Yeah.
"That's it. I will put him out of business." Like he's determined to put him out of business to the point he's actually working on a new phone. He's calling it the Tesla phone. He's calling it. He's supposed to be the most powerful smartphone on the market,
Hmm.
and be better, stronger. Putting an Android phone and Apple married together. That's how strong it's gonna be. I'm like,
Mm.
I can see when it first came out. I'm not gonna get it, but I'm just curious now. Like,
Well, we'll see.
yeah.
But I mean, it's possible because, like I said earlier, I mean,
Mm.
can someone really um, give me a major distinctive difference between the iPhone 12? Well, maybe the 13, 14, and 15. We're up to 15 now.
Yeah.
Like every phone that
So
comes out, it's like little things, maybe a little bit more resolution on the camera or some, but it's not. They're not doing like big things. It's
like
like
they
they
used to, yeah,
early
back.
on, yeah, they
Yeah.
were shooting up like this. Now everything's flattening out, so they're just giving you gradual updates, but there's nothing major difference in the phone. They even look the same. You know
So
what I mean? It's
the
like,
reason I'm laughing, I just literally was it 2 or 3 weeks ago. I just had a debate.
mhm,
I had King on and my best friend CQ, and CQ is a hardcore Apple boy fan. He's like a
right,
cheerleader for Apple. He loves, like he has an Apple Watch. Air.
yeah,
He goes like he would never change. He had I think the 10 or 11 that he just changed this year. He had 4 years old.
hmm,
That's a great time for the phone. About King. The King, like I love King to death. He's one of my boys, but he has three
yeah,
phones. He has a Apple phone because his daughter. He has a Samsung and a Google phone. So he was a
right,
great person to go head to head. So
hmm,
with the argument fact, Apple came on top because they have some good security features that Android doesn't because it's an open source. It
hmm,
depends what you use it for. That's what it comes down to it. And it
yeah,
depends on who your group is. A lot of my group right now has Apple, so it makes more sense to have an Apple.
Right.
Now, what does it change from Apple to Apple? Let me ask you a question. You're a Samsung user, right?
Now I'm an Apple.
Apple.
I have a 13 Pro.
Okay, so you're a tech guy, correct?
Hmm.
What
Yeah.
is what much difference are between a Samsung and Apple right now anymore? Except
Oh, that look. The last time I owned in fact, I don't think I've ever owned a Samsung. I owned a Google phone up until 2005. So I
okay,
had one of the first
let
early.
me
I had
rephrase
one
that
of the
question.
first. I had a yeah.
Like, what's the difference between an Apple versus an Android? Is that a better question?
Yeah. Um, man, again, I'd have to go back like 15 years,
Yeah,
16 years, because again, I had a Google Nexus up until 2005. When my girls got old enough, they wanted iPhones,
of course.
and I think I hung on to my Google phone maybe until like 2000, maybe 2000. No, it was around the same time because I think the Apple Store they were giving me a deal. They said, if you upgrade, like we'll give you, like a free phone. If you get 4 phones or whatever, we'll upgrade. We'll let you swap it out. So that's really my first exposure to an iPhone. So I've had an iPhone 6. Then I held on to it until I got a 10, and then I got a 13. So it's like every 3 or 4 years I'll make the jump, but I don't do it like every year.
Yeah, I
As
agree with
far
you there.
and it's tough to sell what's better because I would literally have to have like both phones like at the same time because again the I'm not going to compare like an iPhone 6 to like a whatever the latest Samsung or Nexus phone is. They've
23, yeah.
all upgraded. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, the things that for the things that I do, I could more than likely use any one of those phones, and I don't think I would be missing a whole lot. Um, 'Cause especially now, I mean, the early phones when it comes to like cameras, not like everyone's got like a crazy cameras on these things now to the point now where it's like I know digital photographers now or giving up. Remember, like digital photography, you would get like the you spend $1,000 for the body case,
Yep.
and then you spend another $1,000 for the lenses, and you would do all that super stuff. Now these phones are getting so good where a lot of that digital work can be done with the phone more so than these big digital cameras that people buying. I mean, only for the photo file for the people who are really take it super super seriously. But for 90% of people, I think that the camera market has probably gone down a lot to where it's only professionals really who do that, unless you're just one of those avid photography enthusiasts who likes to go out and shoot nature scenes and stuff like that or whatever. But for 90, I would say I would have said 90% before. Now it's probably like 95, 97% right now.
See, as much as
You can do most of that stuff with your phone.
I want to actually agree with you. I gotta argue the fact because a lot of us now are buying those big ass bulky cameras and turning them into webcams, and because they want
Yeah.
to hide and stuff like that. Here's where it gets interesting with the cameras for me.
Mm,
You get Samsung. And
mm,
actually right now Samsung and Google, excuse me, Samsung and Apple have the best camera versus the Google phones. And
mm,
I had a Samsung 23 for a while. I'm sorry, not Samsung 23. I'm sorry. It was the Note 10 Plus was last on iPhone Note phone I had. I loved them. I loved them. It was
mm.
a great experience. Except when I had a 10, I just had a bad experience. So I think maybe it was time to change. It doesn't matter which company you're with anymore. I think I feel it's more like who is in what ecosystem and what will work best for your situation. Like for example, um, if all your friends are in the ecosystem of Apple, you're going to stick with Apple. And like you said, your kids and your wife are in Apple, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They're
It
all.
makes more sense like that. They have some features that are really like that's FaceTime. The FaceTime is actually a great feature to
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. Mm,
And last time I checked, I don't think Samsung has something similar like that.
right.
But now the government is really on top of Apple, saying you have to change your ways or you're going bye bye with European stuff. And so you have that part of it now too. So it's a lose fight they're having over in Europe right now. Like as much that's a big market for them,
Hmm.
they cannot lose that market because
Yeah.
But in overseas, it's now because they can't do that because they're just getting more momentum now. Now every kid wants the Apple phone, the Apple phone, the Apple phone. Or my favorite one is the Milo, the Milo. Like they're trying to say Apple, they say
Mm.
Milo in Greek. So now they lose their momentum. They're gonna be back to ground zero over in Europe. They can't lose that. It's because people usually go right to Androids, and there's so many different kinds in any
Yeah.
budget you want. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But let's get back on topic really fast. So we went
Sure.
from beta to VHS to DVDs to Blu-rays. For most of you guys don't know about Blu-rays, the only reason Blu-rays won was because Sony owned the rights to that, and because they owned the rights, they put it in a PlayStation. That is the biggest reason. So the biggest debate I'm having right now is streaming versus DVD. What is the biggest difference you think, Paul?
Just the ability not to have a rack. Like I may own about 200 DVDs,
Oh, you're like me then.
and they're in a, and they're there. But again, I have to get up. I have to load it into the DVD player, take it out, put it back, sort it, make sure it's organized or whatever, make sure the dog doesn't chew on it or whatever. Whereas again, with my phone, I can go into my digital library. I can put it on my phone, and most of my TVs either have Chromecast or they have Chromecast built in. I just boom, I just put it on my phone. I want it, I watch it. I'm at work, I'm at on vacation, I'm on the plane. Because a few years ago, I remember flying, taking like a portable DVD player with me.
I had
I
one.
would play I would play my videos like in flight, like on the planes and whatnot, because you didn't have, can't you that to me that would be the only reason to have DVD, because like I said, if you're in a situation where you don't have access to Wi-Fi, like on a flight or a long flight, if you're going to Greece, how long is the flight to Greece?
8 hours.
Right. So yeah, in that sense, you may want to have, if unless you downloaded those movies to your phone, what you can do now, if you have a phone that has a
Memory.
lot of 512 or gig of data on it, then yeah, you can download those movies and still have the same experience. But outside of travel or areas where you don't have Wi-Fi access, that's the only advantage that having a digital would give you, because obviously you need that in order to access unless it's downloaded on your phone. So I think it has some uses, but I gotta tell you, I'm much more, I have YouTube TV is my primary TV, but with the Netflix and all the streaming services that are available, I gotta pick those over the DVDs for sure, because
So here's where I have a little debate with this. Okay. So
Sure.
with a physical copy, you own the right. Let's pretend this is a DVD.
Mm-hmm.
This is yours. I can touch it. The digital, let's say you buy a movie of Amazon Prime, and I'm guilty of it too.
Mm-hmm.
I bought, let's say, John Wick, for argument's sake, right? One.
Yep.
You don't really own that. If for some
Mhm.
reason they lose the right of that movie off their library, you lose the right to watch it too.
Right.
So you don't own it.
Yeah.
So
It's a possibility.
yeah. So yes, you can download to a movie. Most flights have a movie, in the seats, but most of them they're like old movies or sucky movies. So
Yeah,
having the ability to actually have the movies right in your hand on your lap, ready to go, is the best feeling in the world. Like
Mhm.
on my break, when I go on break, I put YouTube on. I'll be honest with you. I YouTube. I do my research at time. I do whatever I need to do. I get done.
Mhm.
Now here's where it gets a little complicated. Now with the downloading part, yeah, you can download it, but is it going to be as clear as streaming it? The people question.
I don't. Well, it depends on where you're watching it. Like on your
Exactly.
phone, I don't think it matters. I mean, you're not, unless you're blowing the thing up like on your 85-inch set. I don't know if it's going to matter at that point. You're talking about 6 inches. So is the streaming versus the download? Is it going to be that much difference between the two? I don't know if it's going to be enough to not make the experience enjoyable. It's not gonna. It's not like you're going to see snow like in the picture, like back in the rabbit ear days when you had snow on your TV.
So here,
So
okay,
I think
that is a good
you
point.
can live with it.
So this is my last point of the night, and we're gonna, but so do you really think DVD is dead yet?
Um, it's definitely dying. I mean, especially now. Again, just a few years ago, like a top DVD that would come out would be
Mhm.
like $25-$30. Blu-ray, and then they used to give you options, right? So it used to be the regular DVD
Mm-hmm.
that came out for like $19.99, and then the Blu-ray was like $25-$30.
Or you get the dual, or you get DVD and Blu-ray. That was the other option too.
Yeah, yeah. Now it's the Blu-rays. I can go to I can go to Best Buy. I mean Walmart now and get like all these DVDs for like $5.
Okay,
So
so
it's
here's the argument statement. Now I'm gonna push back for it a little bit
hmm
here. So
hmm
if you go any a lot of places are removing physical media. Best Buy and all that, they're removing them
yes,
slowly. So if you
yes.
go online right now on Amazon Pacific, there's a new form of DVD coming out. It's called 4K Ultra HD. It's a Blu-ray pretty much
I
at 4K. Guess what's the price of Top Gun Maverick? I'm looking at right now. Guess what the price is?
probably 30, $35.
$29.99. You're
Yeah.
you're very close. So
hmm
I don't say it's completely dead, but they're still fighting. It's like this, like Titanic is going down, is going down, is going down, but
hmm
it's not to the point that okay, it's sinking. They're trying to get back up. I think they're going to try to have one more hoo ha, and let's do this.
Well, I
But
think certainly.
go ahead, go ahead.
I think coming out of C-19, I think that may have something to do with that. In that, again, to your earlier point, having the physical copy, you don't have to worry about someone taking something away from you or a site that's hosting your stuff, like if you like a cloud or whatever. If that goes down
Hmm.
or something, if you're in an isolated situation where you don't have access to that, or if it's taken down for any reason, if you have like sort of like a bunker mentality, then I certainly think that is something that you can take some assurance in, knowing that you have the physical product and I can play it anytime I want. I don't have to worry about if someone's site gets hacked or and there have been cyber attacks, different companies or whatnot. There have been security breaches because again, everything if you're in, then they got they can get your information and whatnot. So again, for some of the folks, and there are a segment of people. I have friends of mine still, obviously, because I'm still Gen Xer, who are not fond of any online activity. Like I know guys who are still not on social media. They don't have Facebook. They don't have Instagram. They don't, anything that they can digitally subscribe to. They just don't want their information out in the ether. So for them, they just want to go buy their product, bring it home, watch it, whenever they want, just like back in the day with the VHS tapes or whatever. Especially, if you talk about adult content, then yeah, used to go to the video store and you would buy or the back room and get the tapes and everything and bring it home or whatever, and no one mess with you. But do you really want um your public knowledge out there that you belong to like an adults only site or something? I mean, you know, so some people love living off the grid, and I think that for those people, having the physical product, I think that would still be a desirable state for them rather than having their information all over the internet. Because I know guys now, they'll never, they barely use email. That's how
Oh wow.
paranoid they are about stuff.
So my pushback with this is okay. First of all, let's touch base what you were saying. You have to get up and put a DVD in. All right. Here's my pushback on that. They make DVD players up to 300, and that you keep them in there, and you just hit the what button or whatever it is. I can't remember. I had one time, and it goes. It spins around a big circle. It goes and just puts it in.
Yeah, but how many people own those though? Again, that's I'm
I
talking
used to
about.
be
I'm
one
just
of
talking
them.
about the
No,
main.
a comment.
Yeah, I
No, no,
mean,
no.
a guy like you would
Yeah,
own one of those.
yeah. I'm crazy
Yeah,
like
have
that. You
all
know
these.
me by now.
Yeah, but that's like probably 5% of the market that
Yeah.
would invest in one of those. Or I could put all my DVDs in this thing. It'll spin it like the old record players back in the jukeboxes back in the day where it gets the record and put it in. I mean, it's kind of
So
you,
it's
you,
not
you're
as
kind of going
expensive
for
as you
that.
think. It's like 150. It's not that expensive. Believe it or not, people think it
Okay.
is. So,
Mm.
but here's the catch. What I think is interesting too. So if you go on any Amazon or anywhere to sell DVDs right now, I'm going to go Amazon because that's where I have open right now. So a newer DVD player, it starts for Panasonic is 44. It goes all the way up to 150 to $200 still. I'm like, Jesus
Mm.
Christ! I think the price is going to drop over
Mm.
time, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, they're fucking trying to fight back. But
Yeah.
that's not the way to fight back. I would lower my prices a little bit. So
Well,
as
it's still
much.
cheaper than back in the day, though. Again, you spend $200 for a DVD player back in the early 2000s, which again, if adjusted by today's dollars, that's like three fifty today in today's dollars. So it's still cheaper overall, especially if you said the lowest end was $44.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean,
See,
you're
I
still
have
ahead.
never spent over 150 on a DVD player, even when it first came out. I always got them on
Yeah.
sale or something. And maybe I
Mhm.
was a smart one or something. But as much as I would like to see have like a good hoo ha, again, it's not. I'm gonna use Blockbuster for a great example. Blockbuster was I loved Blockbuster. I was like a Blockbuster addiction because I had the membership that you
Mhm.
could pay. I think it was like $20 a month, and you can rent as
Yeah.
many movies you want and how many games you
Yeah.
want. And they didn't want to get actually when funny story Netflix was almost going out of business. They offered Best Buy to buy them out. It's like they
Mhm.
laughed at them. Guess who had the last
Mhm.
laugh now? Finally. Um,
Yeah.
so Blockbuster was great. Dude, do you remember going to Blockbuster release?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was not only them, but there was just other video stores. There were several different types, and the thing about it was each one had its own, um,
Unique style.
its own size. You know what I mean? You had small blockbusters, you had large ones. You know what I mean?
So let me ask you a
And a
question to
lot of
that really fast.
yeah,
Are you talking about like other companies like Hollywood Videos or like local mom and pop shops?
both.
Okay.
So like in in the town I was in, you had one blockbuster, you had the Hollywood that you talked about, and then you had your locals, your mom and pop stores, and depending on where you were, what was convenient to get to, you would go there. And a lot of times and sometimes you have to go to all of them depending on what the release. If you're talking about a new release,
Mm-hmm.
then you could very easily go to one of those stores and they're out of them, and then you
I
would
remember that.
drive
Yeah.
to like two or three other stores trying to see if someone had that new release. So that's the thing. I mean, unless you got there very early on the day it got released or the week, sometimes they would give you like, okay, this week these upcoming releases are coming out or whatever, and you would either put in early, especially if you had a certain, I think they had membership tiers. So if
Yeah,
you were
it
like an
did towards the
exclusive
end.
member, like yeah, so you would get, if you had the top tier, then you would get priority in terms of, hey, you get to rent this before someone else does. But if you didn't, like I said, anything that came out that week, more than likely they were gone. So a lot of times I would go to Blockbuster to get films that were like a couple months in. Like once the buzz was over, yeah, you can easily go and get your video. And sometimes you would go because you didn't know what you wanted to watch, right? You just went in
Right
there,
here.
you just looked up and down the aisles and say, hey, let's watch this tonight. Oh yeah, this looks good. You read the back cover and see what the movie is about or whatever. Hey, let's pick that up and let's watch that or whatever. But as far as the new stuff, that was the thing that was worst about it, is that you go there, it's up, so sorry, we're all out of it, because and then the other movies, it's like they may have like one or two copies. The older the movie, they may
Less
you got
copies.
like one, maybe two copies of the movie
Yeah.
there.
So one thing I did learn over the years going to Blockbuster is one, depends where you live. Like when I lived in New
Hmm.
York, get a new movie release, it was nearly impossible. So the trick
Yeah,
I found is, so if the movie came out, I don't know if, usually if I remember correctly, back in the day, there used to be every Friday. Then they moved it to
mm,
Thursday. So you count the days. It's 5 days. Usually people keep it. Usually Wednesday or Thursday will return, right? So if
right.
you go Thursday, when nobody goes to rent movies on Thursdays, everybody goes for a Friday or
Yeah,
Saturday,
you have to do that.
and
Yeah,
you have all the movies you like to your lift. Going, I would after school get in my car,
yeah,
get there like, or option two, if you're cool with the people and you're really nice to them. Hey, this is Pete. I wonder if you have any more copies of John Wick 3. Yeah, can you put it on a side for
mm,
me? Yeah, we got you, Pete. Don't
yeah,
worry. Click. That's the other
mm,
copy. Now,
yeah,
living in PA, where I live, in this, when I lived in Mount Pocono at the time, at Mount Pocono Blockbuster, you always had a chance to get a copy. It was, because people didn't rent movies as much up here. They just buy them and call it a
mm,
day because they didn't want to drive back 20, 30 minutes to return the movie. They said, fuck that. I'll just pay,
yeah,
the money I'm going to pay to rent it, I just put it in gas, instead. You know what I'm saying? Actually, put it in a
mm,
DVD. You know what I'm trying to say. Rent and
yeah,
gas will be cheaper. Just me own the movie. I get it.
right.
So I miss the old feeling of that. I also miss the old mom and pop movie rentals places too. It
Yeah.
was a place we used to call Jerry's. Jerry's was a freaking kick-ass place. We used to go in for
Mm.
$3. You remember, for 5 days. It was a great. If they had old movies
Yeah.
from even old cartoons, the Thundercats, original
Right.
VHS
Yeah.
stuff. I'm like,
Oh man.
yeah. I'm like,
Mhm.
Thundercats, ho!
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to love that stuff.
Absolutely. Right.
And I believe digital media kind of killed it off. I'll be honest with you, bro.
Mhm.
Like, I feel like a dinosaur. Shit.
But now you can get digital and you can get the whole season, like just like that, like season one. Whereas back then, I mean, you couldn't get volumes like that, or it may have like especially a VHS tape, like especially at the highest quality now, which they're not going to give you 6 hour tapes, right? The tape's going to be 2 hours because that's the SP quality it was the best quality back then. So you're talking about 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So you're only going to get like one thing, or if it was like a cartoon series or something, like 4 episodes on it. But now with the streaming, you can get season one, season two, boom, it's just there. You can the binge watching that you can do on something now that you couldn't necessarily do back in the day. So for some people that's an advantage.
Yeah, I'm actually looking right now. I don't see anywhere on Amazon for the full Thundercat series on the DVD. I had it one time. I don't remember what happened to it, but
Hmm.
it started. The first set is only $27, so it's not bad.
Hmm.
And that's the thing with VHS versus DVDs. Also, is like you can put a lot more value. I give a good example is when the DVDs were becoming really popular with the hike of it. Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor was the only one that I know you had to change out the disc because how big it was.
Yeah,
Because I
or
don't know.
flip it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. No, you had to change the disc. I don't know how to flip it. But I don't know
Mm-hmm.
why it was so big.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, how long was if it was like a 3 or 4 hour epic? I mean, because I think even with
I think it's the music.
the
That's what it
high,
was.
yeah,
Because there was a lot of heavy pounding. There's a lot of more digital data had to pick it. Now with the Blu-ray, it's only one.
yeah.
So it depends on what format you're using again, what kind of cameras they're using. There's a lot of that also in
Mm.
factors. It just, I miss the old school days. You could get popcorn, and I saw the, or slushy. Like, you probably remember your kids running around like crazy trying to fight over what movie they want to get that night, right?
Yeah.
And just those days are gone,
Now
man.
now we did miss something. We did miss one more, and again, we probably need to wrap soon. But there was another war. You talked about Blu-ray versus streaming. There was another platform called HD DVD.
Yeah, that was
It
HD
wasn't.
versus
It
the
was a
Blu-ray. Remember, I said that.
yeah. I'm talking about the right. It was two discs. It was like the same.
Same
It looked
format
like the
almost.
same format,
Yeah, yeah.
but it was like yeah. And I think
One
yeah. So to your point, you said that I think Sony owned the rights
Blu-ray,
um to the Blu-ray, and they were
and
able to put on.
yeah,
Yeah, so that was another one of those. Yeah, but yeah, I don't think HD DVD. I don't think they were ever first. You know, like no one ever said that HD DVD was like superior in some way or whatever. I think they were always playing for second, and they just never caught on because again, most of the titles that came out were like I said the Blu-ray titles, and with the TVs changing, especially going to digital TVs. For some people, they can notice the difference between the two formats.
see, I
Again, if you were a
think
video file,
Sony had a leg up no matter what. Let's say
yeah,
HD came out first, for argument's sake, for the conversation really fast. I don't think they would have won anyway because you
yeah,
had can't remember PlayStation 2 or PlayStation 3. It was in it. They were giving it to you for free. Now, the Blu-ray players were like, say, $500-$600, whatever. No, back then, right? You can pay half of that in a entertainment system, Sony PlayStation. Your kids can play PlayStation and watch the movie at the same time and get two
right,
systems for the price of one. Obviously,
yeah.
as a working man like yourself and having kids, which one will you pick? Buy one separate machine or buy two and get a price of one?
I could get the 2 for 1.
Yeah. So I personally believe that's why the reason Blu-ray won no matter what. It was no, they had no chance.
Mhm.
They had no goddamn
Yeah,
chance to win. Like, you know what I'm saying? And the
yeah,
same thing with the whole the 4K Ultra HD. I don't think they have a chance against digital. If something unique, like to the point, like, oh my god, this is so realistic, you can't even believe it, yada yada. The only way I can see people buying DVDs now these days is for 3D, because I don't see too many 3D movies online.
Right.
But not a lot of TVs can support 3D. Even with my new one, like you gotta buy
Right.
another higher grade from that, be 4K, this 3D.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of 3D personally because it bothers my eyes.
Then, well, not only that, it's the more you go up. If you're talking about streaming platforms, the
Mhm.
more you go up in resolution, that's going to require a lot more bandwidth in terms of your house, your Wi-Fi, or your cable. So that's going to require you that because the one thing that we didn't talk about was the expense. Like if you're having streaming, then you have to pay some sort of service for the streaming.
That's a
Whereas
good
if you just
point.
buy the raw product, you just have the product. That's it. All you need is the player, and you can play as much as you want. But like in my house, like I have 100 megabit internet. I have Verizon, so generally we can play up to say 4K. But now, what if 8K comes out, or if just decide to watch more 4K content? Because I think for YouTube TV, like I have the standard ones. If you want the 4K content, it costs more. So if I want for YouTube TV, if I wanted 4K, I think my bill will go up like $20 a month to
Jeez.
support the streaming for the higher resolution. So that might be another advantage also that we need to consider for having the physical products is that all the extra costs you're spending the extra money so that your internet can be able to support it, and then for the streaming service that you're purchasing, you're also paying additional for the 4K streaming content. So your internet and your streaming service bill
Yeah.
could go up monthly because of that versus just having the physical product. So
So I use my mother for example
that's,
because she lives
yeah.
off her TV. I'm not even joking because she streams all the
Hmm.
way from Greece to here. That is
Hmm.
a $40 product right there. I pay about 120, no cable, just phone and internet. I have a limited bandwidth. They have it
Hmm. Hmm.
according to them, but there's no way you get unlimited. You know they're gonna type me up
Right.
something. Towards the end of the month, my internet starts slowing down. I can realize, oh, okay,
Right.
they're capping me right now. So my
Hmm.
point is trying to get to, and unfortunately, with me where I live, I have one option: is Blue Ridge, and that's it. I don't have
Right.
Verizon or FiOS. You probably have like what 4 or 5 options down there in Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Files, which is Verizon,
yeah,
and you have and you have the cable companies.
yeah.
I think Comcast or one of those guys are still out here. So
All
you
right.
don't have a ton, and then you also have the satellite services still, like Dish or whatever.
Yeah, satellite. I don't. I would not even have that in this conversation because that is
Right.
so. Everybody that I know who has it, it depends on the area you are. If you're in a
Oh
boony
yeah,
area like I
I
live,
had we went through all of that.
yeah,
We went through all that.
so you know what I'm talking about exactly.
Yes, I do. Hmm.
So for
Yeah,
our
major
viewers,
snowstorm or whatever. Yeah, that was tough.
it just anything with satellite is a no go for me personally, and I believe for Paul
Right.
too. Just get a line and make yourself easier. But my point is trying to get to you're paying for your bandwidth, like you said, your prescription service. That's two. So if you're say 120, now you add another $40, so
Hmm.
you're up to almost 160.
Yeah. Which is
Like
about basically what you were paying cable, because a
yeah,
lot of people did the cord cutting, because they say, oh, cable was expensive, I'm paying $200 for cable or whatever. But when you add all that stuff up, you basically, to an extent, you're almost paying the same money, if not more, because then a lot of people don't own just one streaming service; they own multiple.
I do.
So,
I own multiple.
you know,
It's more expensive
yeah,
like that. Like the only thing I don't own on my cable is like a YouTube TV or something like that because I looked into it getting this year for football. It's more expensive than
hmm
anything. I looked at it like this is like I thought it'd be
yeah.
cheaper.
The only reason I use YouTube TV, one, it was one of the first ones. We've had it for several years
Hmm.
now, but it allows up to at minimum three independent streams. So
Okay.
again, with my wife and kids, they all have shows they want to watch. Whereas with the other ones, at least at the time, they only supported like one or two streams, like in terms of simultaneously. So like anybody can
Mm.
go on anytime. You can have up to 5 accounts, but three can be independently streamed regardless at any given
Okay,
time.
I
That
see.
wasn't an option
Now
available with the other ones.
let me ask you a crazy question. Let's say your kid moved out and she lives in Ohio, for example. Does she have to be in the same Wi-Fi?
No,
Because like
No,
Netflix, for example,
no,
you
she
can't.
can use it. She can use it anywhere. But if more than 3 people try to log on,
Well, might get
someone
kicked
gets
off.
bumped off, and then you'll see they'll give you a message up. You have your max of 3 or whatever, and then I'll just put in we have a group text. I was like, all right, who logged on? I was in the middle of the game. Wait till my game's over before you log on, and I'll let you know where you can go on again. So there's 5 people here. So so generally, that happens occasionally, but it doesn't happen that often, especially now because not in addition to YouTube, like I said they'll have Netflix or
Hmm.
whatever. So usually it's one of those services that they're using. So we don't clash as much as before. But you can be anywhere in the country, and go in there as long as the number of users isn't maxed out.
Now, let me ask this silly question. Now, if you want to up that, can you? Well, of course, the price will go up.
No, well, at least not
Really?
with the words I have now. Now, if I bumped up to the 4K, I don't know if they give you a separate stream or not. Again, I'm not at this point. I don't need 4K, especially for sports and whatnot. Again, I mean, at this point, you're only gonna wow me so much, unless they get the technology where it's like simulation, like you feel like you're in the game itself.
Uh,
I'm not screaming for additional stuff. So again, I can't justify 4K content at this point.
This one I'm gonna bash him a little bit on this because I had a bad experience with this one, and you see why here in a minute. You heard of
Mhm.
the NFL Plus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, $10 a month, and great deal, right?
Hmm.
So they didn't tell you one major thing in those commercials. Hang on, let me do it correctly. Commercials is
Hmm.
only it's like a radio station. I can literally go in my car, turn on my series, and I can listen to the same thing. It's literally play by play radio, and like I want something that I can
Right.
watch. And I'm surprised
Right.
NFL has
Right.
not come out with their own streaming service for a reasonable price. I think people will go for that. I think our next step in evolution of our technology and our entertainment is almost everybody's going to have their own services. I think NFL is going to be one of the companies like WWE. Great example. They are teamed up with.
Yeah.
Actually, at first they had their own thing. Then they teamed up with Peacock. If you want to, and then there are PPLs, you have to be on that service now. You cannot go on cable,
Right.
hit the 2 buttons, click, and then you just order it. Doesn't work like that
But it's
anymore.
to that point. They still chose to run. They still chose the partnership because before they had their
Yes.
own WWE network. So they were completely independent
Yep.
for a time, and then they still decided that they want to branch out to either USA. I think Raw's on USA, and I think SmackDown's on Fox. I think they still
Something
have
like
that
yeah,
deal going on.
they're actually in the middle of a contract negotiation right now. But the lives you cannot watch on Peacock. That's the only bummer about it. But you
Right.
can watch on reruns at like an hour later, or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, but the PPLs, that's what most people want for $10. I think Peacock is or 20. It's worth the price versus 50. Think about it.
Right. But WWE when it came out, it was $9.99 a month, and it
Exactly.
included the pay-per-views.
Yep.
So I don't know why at some point either they weren't selling enough of them, or whatever. But I mean, and not only that, you got the libraries. Like let's say if you're a diehard wrestling fan, you had the NWA library, you had
Yeah.
the World Class library, you had
WWA and all those
Mid
stuff.
Atlantic,
Yeah.
Florida.
So
You had you had all those libraries of stuff out there.
I think it
But
was
for
more a
some,
pain in the ass for them to keep up with all the stuff like that,
there you go.
and
So
that's
to
what it
your point
was.
about the NFL, that's why I don't think they'll do their own because again, that's more headache for them.
But
They'd rather go because remember, for a long time they were on Dish Network, exclusively on Dish Network for the NFL season ticket. Now they're hooked up with YouTube, and I think that they'd rather work with Google's money than their own.
see, here's where I think I'm going to disagree with you. NFL has a lot more money than WWE does to actually have our own separate department to doing that. Versus, they kind of do already. If you think about it, they all those stuff they put out on social media and YouTube and all that stuff, they have a department. So why not add a little more budget to them and do it? Because they're what is it? Was it $10 billion corporation? I
Oh,
don't.
it's more than that, but I
Yeah, I'm
mean,
throng numbers out there. I didn't like Google it. Obviously, I
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
expect that
but
to be happening.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
again, one thing about big business, again, using other people's money is still a principle they're going to use, regardless how much of your own you say you may have. Because even now, there's one of the games that's finishing up now. It's an NFL game. It's on Peacock, which is a first. Like especially for the playoffs, all NFL up to this point, you've never seen an NFL playoff game on a streaming platform, exclusively on a streaming platform. But it's like
That's
the
different
NFL,
then.
like this weekend. It's like this is like the wild card weekend. All the games used to be free. So you had people who were livid saying that they had the Kansas City and Miami for tonight's game, and unless you subscribe, which we do again, because my
Hmm.
girls they want Peacock $4.99 a month, whatever it is. Um, but because of, and my daughter, she watches all the WWE, like all the pay per views, so she uses Peacock for that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
so we have it, but other fans like they're irate. Just like why do I now they're charging us for football on one of these one of these platforms. So even then they're moving
So
to
here's
that,
what my
and NFL is
problem.
also on Amazon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
here's my problem with the NFL with streaming. So if you get say YouTube, you only get Pacific channels. That means you only get Pacific day games. You don't get them all. I'm a Jet fan and a Giant fan.
unless you buy the season ticket.
Yeah, and that's I'm gonna like. In my opinion, I think that's a ripoff. It's way too much money.
Well, depends on how much football. $200. No, actually, it was when might have been like 150. I think it was like 150 or something because they had like a promotion like $50 off. And then at the halfway mark, then they cut it down. Then when quarter season left, they cut it down.
Okay,
But to
so
get access
here's
to every game, so especially if your favorite team is out of market, so you're gonna get every game. Say I'm fortunate, I'm a Steelers fan.
mhm.
They're one of those national teams, so I watch 10 Steelers games a year free.
Yeah.
But let's say if you play in Detroit, if you're a Detroit Lions fan or something like that, where you don't get all the games, you get to watch all those games, 17 games, including playoff games, for less than $10 a game.
Yeah.
So
So
imagine if you had to buy a ticket to go there.
so in my line, I work every other weekend. So this tomorrow, this is supposed to be my weekend off. I picked up a shift, whatever. Next week is my weekend on. So I'm
Hmm.
not gonna be able to watch all those games. So to me, it's kind of
Right.
a waste of money personally.
Well, you
Um,
record it, you watch it later.
I'm sorry.
Because again, if it's you record, you can record and watch it later. If it's out of market, then you wouldn't even be able to record it either.
Yeah. So I usually get alerts by the time I get home. I know who won, right? So it's just and I give it highlights. You know I see where you're going with this. Is like I had this
Yeah.
discussion. Like
Like
I
I
can.
say, if you're that fan, then I can certainly see it worth it. Me, fortunately, I haven't had to make that plunge, but I've thought about it. I definitely, especially because before, like I said, it was only available through DirecTV, and I
Mhm.
wasn't getting, to your earlier point, I wasn't getting satellite anymore. So when it came to YouTube TV, I did ponder, it's like, would it be worth it to check this out? But again, the Steelers, like I said, I rarely miss a Steelers game. They always show something. They're like the Cowboys. They want to have them on every week.
I'm surprised you're still a fan because you live in Jersey. I thought maybe a Jet fan or a Giant
Born and
fan.
raised 1978. Super Bowl 13 and 14, Lynn Swan, John Stallworth, Jack Lambert, all those guys. I've been on, because that's when I got into sports. The late 70s, 77 was the first time I got into sports. New York Yankees, Reggie Jackson,
Hmm.
and those guys. Then in the 80s, you had the Celtics, Larry Bird, was certainly a favorite of mine growing up. So yeah, so I got with those guys very early on. I just never got off them. I mean, I knew about the local teams, obviously the Jets and Giants, because I live in the area. But yeah. But as far as my faves, those they're to this day they're still my favorite teams. And Steeler Nation is big. I mean, any stadium you go into, you see those terrible towels going. So
I'll keep
I'm
credit.
definitely
Yes,
on.
and like listen, at least you're not an Eagles fan. Like I will be. You won't be on the channel if you're an Eagles
I
fan.
thought you were going to say if I was a Dallas fan, but
BMU's not listening.
yeah,
Hope thank God. Like he might
yeah.
be screaming on his screen right now. Like okay, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. You see what happens with your show.
There you go. There you go. Well,
Yeah.
listen. Speaking of shows, because again, I gotta go soon. I'm already over time, but tomorrow, definitely looking forward to tomorrow's show. If you want to give a quick plug
Yeah, I'm actually gonna
on
put it
that,
right in the chat right now. Actually, I already had it set
yeah.
up and
So
everything.
tomorrow, me and Peter, we debut our new show called The Gray Area. It's going to be on the Black Man Unfiltered Network. So it's going to be tomorrow night at 9:30, and we're excited about basically opening up a dialogue. So this is Pete's idea, and so I'm going to be his co-pilot on this venture, and we're going to be talking about just comparing culture, school, marriage, society, religion, just different things from our perspectives. Him being Greek American, me being an African American, ADOS American, and we're going to be comparing notes culturally and looking for that middle ground, that gray area between black and white. And so definitely looking forward to having that exchange with him. I'm very curious because again, I don't know many certainly Greek people, Greek American people. So certainly I'm very interested. I've always been culturally curious. So I'm very interested to see how Pete sees the world through a Greek perspective, a Greek American perspective, and when he goes home, what that experience is like as well, or when he talks to people from the old country, what that's like. So again, this is going to be a dialogue, a cultural exchange, and as much as we want to explore how we're different, but also how we're similar, because at the end of the day, we're all human beings. We're all made in God's image.
I totally agree. I totally
Um,
agree.
so I'm
And
definitely looking forward to that.
me and Paul have spoken off camera on phones. Like we have a lot of things in common. Like we're both big martial art fans. We like different cultures and like some things we don't like. And we're going back and forth. That's where the idea came from. And like
Mhm.
as much as I hate to say this, black and white, orange, green, blue and red. Let's cut that shit off. End of the day, you cut yourself. You believe, I believe, we come from the same thing. I am he. The point of this show is to actually break the boundaries. Like BMU Black Man always says, his channel is where people can say what they want and actually break those boundaries and break those walls and get through to people.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm not gonna be streaming on this channel. I'll be straight up with everybody because my channel is more grooming and stuff like that, and I don't want to throw up algorithm out. But I will be on that channel. Please check it out. I already put the channel down. Except that, guys. Any final thoughts, Paul, before we go?
Nah, like I said, I'm just really looking forward to tomorrow,
I am too.
and the cover that Black Man chose from the show. Again, so it was just different people. I thought about. Did you ever watch? You're too young to remember Miami Vice, right?
No, I remember
Yeah,
my advice actually. Thank you,
that was
asshole.
early '80s, so you must have watched it in reruns.
Yeah, it was
You're not that
reruns.
old, but my favorite movie though was the 2006 movie. I don't know if you saw that, the one with Jamie Foxx
Yeah,
and
and oh God,
Colin Farrell.
yes, I did watch it actually. I thought it was actually a
I
very good
love
movie.
that movie. That's one that was I thought people didn't the reviews weren't that good. I watched that movie so many times. But in looking at the cover shot that Black Man took of us, I thought of us as like Crockett and Tubbs. So that might be that might be a new moniker, Crockett and Tubbs, because that was definitely I wasn't because he said, "Oh, just send me some pictures." I wasn't sure I was going to put it together,
I sent a couple of
but yeah,
pictures. Like I still have my long hair and my long beard. So
yeah. But you remind me of Colin Farrell from that movie because his was hair long. He was kind of like
but I do have a better
that.
beard than he did. Let's get that already.
That I'll give you that. I'll
Yeah.
give you that. But that's the first thing when I saw that picture. I was just reminded of that movie. But no, I really enjoyed that movie.
Yeah.
I can't remember how many times I've watched
I
it.
did too.
I thought it was really
But
good.
but on a serious note, I am looking forward to tomorrow seeing picking your brain and hopefully you be picking my brain. And I'm looking for a good, mature dialogue and see what happens. It
Absolutely.
really is like I'm big on we're not always going to agree, but we're going to agree to disagree in a respectful manner.
Yeah, and I can't, like I said, the way I'm looking at this, I can't see where there'll be. I'm not looking for disagreement. You know what I mean? I'm looking to understand, and
Same
I'm
here.
looking to, to again, I'm looking for that common ground. And where we're different, I want to be able to respect that because, again, I'm just fascinated by the world and how people view the world through their lens and through their experience, through their histories and whatnot. So I'm looking for understanding, and so I
Totally
don't
agree.
think I'm not looking gets I don't think we'll ever go sideways with that
No,
because again, it's your life, it's your story, it's your background,
it's
and
my
I'm
journey,
very
like you
curious to
said.
learn about that. Exactly, and I'm very curious to learn about that, and as much as I'm certainly willing to share mine. So definitely looking forward to but yeah, I can't see us having beefs like, yo, man, you just
No, I don't see that because
but
like we've been
because
friends
I'm
for
just
how
saying,
long now? Like for a few months, we
what's
know
that?
each other, and I mean on a personal level
Yeah,
now, like we on the panels, we actually became
I'm
really
just
good
saying, but
friends.
I'm saying in the BMU space, a fight can break out any time. But I
Oh
think
God,
just the tenor of the show that how we're going to be doing that, I don't see that happening unless we bring on a guest
not
and that
Trey.
guest just
Please
wants
not
to just
Trey
throw
because he's
just
gonna
want
go
to
off
throw a
the rags.
grenade. Just throw a grenade in the room and just be like, "Oh, both of you guys are trash, man." So I'm
I
not
can
looking for
see
that
if you
either.
have Trey in one corner and Snowman in the other one, and those two are going whoosh, right at it because both of them big mouths. And I haven't seen Snowman on BMU's channel for a while,
So man,
but
he was in chat on I think on the Tuesday show he was in the chat. So I reached him a shout out. I hadn't seen him for a while.
yeah, I
But I think a lot
see
of folks have been
he's been doing his thing. I know he got monetized and he's doing really well on his stuff. So
Oh,
he
cool.
streams every night for like 5-6 hours. So I think that's his main,
Oh wow.
main
See
source
that,
of income.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So also with the show, I'm looking no more than 2 hours.
I'm not. Yeah, like this is the time
Yeah,
we'll be
so that's
calling
the
it.
thing.
Like
That
if we
that
get done early,
the
that's
5 hour
fine.
stuff, that was during the C19 days, because folks had nothing else to do. So
Yeah.
people, I'd be seeing these streams. It's like 8 hours, man. It's like, man, because I'll sign off. Like I sign off like around 12:30, 1 o'clock, and sometimes I just get up, go to the bathroom or something, and I'm looking at my phone. It's like, y'all still going? I don't.
Yeah,
I got a wife. I got a wife and a dog. So
like I tell like
They
a
definitely
bunch
still
of
going
my
out too.
followers who actually hit me up on the side. Like, oh well, yeah. I go and they text me like in the morning like they're still at it, dude. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm
nah,
getting ready
that-
for work. I'm like, holy shit,
Exactly.
they're still arguing about the same thing we left off a minute ago, like 5 hours ago.
Like I said, dude, I got a wife. Okay, so
She'll kill you probably.
I got. Well, let's think of more positive things, but I got other things to do with my time. If you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah,
that's what-
dude. All right, man. So closing comment from me, guys. Definitely go back into history and look at the different evolution of stuff. I love digital, but I love the old school blockbusters. Except not that, guys. Next week, I think we're gonna be talking about evolution of video games. If you haven't done your homework yet,
Ooh.
please do. Except that, stay fresh and see you next week.
Take care, guys. Have a good one. I'll see you tomorrow.